Okay, today we're going to be looking at the Laguna 8-inch model. You can see there, M-Join 8012-10130. Pretty much just going to show you the setup, and then we'll get to milling some wood. What I've done so far is taken it out of the packing crate and put the main head on the base. This was really heavy. It took two guys. But it just kind of sits on there, and there are 3 bolts that go up through the underside and lock into position. And this is how it came. Mine already had the fence on it. The instructions say that some fence assembly may be required, but mine came in 2 pieces, the top piece and the base. So all I've done so far is put it on top, and you can see the control box on the floor there. And over here are the contents of the other boxes. We've got the wheels and some belts and pulleys, push blocks, some Allen keys, dust chute, guard, everything you need to finish it off. But most of it is assembled. So according to the instructions, the first thing that I need to do is to put the belts on. So I'm going to do that right now. So one of the first steps they tell you to do is to install the belt, and to do that you should loosen the 4 bolts holding the motor to the mounting bracket, which are there, and align it, I assume vertically, with the cutter head pulley, which is up there. I've just hung these belts on loosely. I'd take off the cover there that was already installed. But one problem I see that is I can't tell whether it's aligned vertically or not. Due to the fence already being installed, there's no way to see if those things line up vertically. I would be able to see it if I could look down, but as my fence is already installed, and you can see installing the fence to bed comes after the belt step in the instructions, so I think I'm gonna have to take the fence off, which looks like it's just these 2 bolts right here. So I'm gonna take that off and see if it makes things easier. Okay, I just took the fence off, which was very simple by loosening the 2 bolts, but a word of caution, I just pinched my finger pretty hard as I was carrying the fence. I somehow carried it, and then as I put it down, this dropped down and pinched my finger in there. So, yeah, be careful. But anyway, after that's taken off, now I can see much more clearly how these two pulleys line up. So let me just pop those belts off. You can see down there. Sorry for the terrible video, but anyway, now I can look down and make sure they're aligned. So I'm gonna do that, check it, take off these, I'll loosen these 4 bolts in the motor there, which will allow it to slide backwards and forwards, and then get the pulleys aligned. And then the next step is to raise the motor, which you do by loosening the 4 bolts on the mounting bracket that attach to the frame. They're slotted, they're vertical slots, so I'll loosen those. I'm going to raise the motor up a little bit, tighten it again, get my pulleys around, and then I'll loosen the nuts again and let the motor hang down under its own weight on the pulleys. And then we'll check it for tension. Correct tension, they say, should be about 1 inch when you pinch it in the middle. We'll pinch the belts together and it should be about 1 inch. And then I'll tighten everything back up again, and then pulleys should be installed. Okay, so now the fence has been removed. It is a lot easier to now look down and see that those 2 pulleys are aligned. So turns out I didn't have to adjust anything, but I didn't know that until I took the fence off. So that part is done. This part of raising the motor to get the pulleys on is actually quite difficult. The bolts that are underneath, they're underneath and they're kind of inside, so their heads are this way. So you have to get a wrench. You have to get a wrench underneath, but your arm can only reach so far, and there's not much travel. But anyway, I got them loosened, and it turns out that the 2 on the left side have the longer slots, and the 2 on the right are more just a regular hole. And what I mean by that is that it's designed to pivot up on the left. The whole thing doesn't raise. Oh, jeez. So that's pivoted up now, probably 1.5 inches, something like that. And then it'll obviously go back down once I get the belts on. But just so you know, it's quite difficult to reach in there. You have to be a bit of a contortionist. It was a 19mm wrench that got those bolts done. So anyway, I'm going to put the belts on now and lift it up and hook them around. Okay, got the belts on and retightened the 4 bolts that were really hard to reach. Luckily they weren't torqued too much, so they were quite easy to undo, and it did just say to snug them back up. My tension is pretty good actually. I think it was just under the weight of the motor itself. I didn't really have to pull down. It says should be able to squeeze to about 1 inch with light finger pressure, so I think I'm pretty close there. And then just to check things, I've just been spinning it by hand just to make sure that the belts are tracking right and not going to come off. And yeah, it does look pretty good. Look at that, nine different cutter heads. It's crazy. Can't wait to use this thing. All right, so we're going to put the fence back on. I'll put the fence back on, which just sits on these two bolts in a slotted groove, so you don't have to take them all the way out, which is nice. Put the pulley cover back on here and the back panel, and then yeah, we'll check out what the next step is. Okay, I think the fence is back on. It's quite a bit more difficult to get it back on than it was to take it off. It is a bit unwieldy. If you obviously helps if you lock everything in position, which I didn't do the first time, which is why I pinched my finger. The fence sits on 2 bolts and 2 elongated slots, and it seems like it has more travel to go down. Let me show you here. This is the fence right here, and as you can see, it can go down further. So I assume that this should be flush with the bed. That's kind of what I've done now, and it seems to make sense to me. So pretty sure that's back in position, but yeah, it's Jeez, now I can't move it again. It is heavy. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's a beast. So this locks the fence that way, and here is your angle of your fence. It's a bit different than what I've used in the past. I had in my old shop when I worked for someone else, I had a king jointer, slightly different fence. And now I'm actually upgrading from this little thing, Craftex little 8-inch benchtop jointer. Just died the other day, not a year old, so I'm going to try and get a warranty claim on that. But in the meanwhile, no time to sit around and wait, so here we have it. Okay, so pulleys are on. Here's the pulley cover, just like that. Wait, hello. Pulley cover's on. I'm just going to put on this panel now, and And we'll get on to the next step, which we kind of just did, installing the fence to the bed there. So clutter head installation will be after that, but that's already installed too. So put the dust chute on, then we'll mount the control box, and then I think it's time to clean the oil off. Okay, blade guard is on, so you just have to, this is the spring-loaded pin right here, so as you drop it down into position, you just have to kind of pull that pin back, put some tension on it, and make sure that it sits against there, otherwise it would just fly around and then you wouldn't have any spring. So that's that. I think we are good to go. I've got to do some checks, make sure the outfeed table aligns with the blades, and I got to degrease it, and I still have to run 220 over from my panel over there. I'll call my electrician. Alright, so it's all set up. I've cleaned it, taken the oil off. There are some marks around here, not sure what that is, whether they'll come out over time or if that's just part of the casting process. I'm not sure. I use mineral spirits to take the oil off. They suggest kerosene, but I didn't have any, and I checked my local hardware store and they didn't have any. So mineral spirits, and I just tried to avoid the paint. I haven't waxed the bed yet, and actually in the instructions it says to use talcum powder with a blackboard eraser, which I didn't know, so maybe I'll go that route. But anyway, it's all ready to go. I've fired it up. It's running well. So yeah, I'm just going to start it up. You can see how loud it is, and then I'll fire up the dust collector, and then I'll put a hard maple board through, which is really twisted, so just give it a go. Once it's started up, you know, nice and quiet, a lot quieter than my old one, so happy about that. Alright, let's give it a go. Nice and square. Taking it off evenly throughout the board. There's no wedging going on. This is a really bad board to start with. So it is going to take more than a couple of passes, but yeah, it's looking good so far. Feels nice and easy to push through. The height, I think it's a bit lower than my old one was, my old floor stand one, and yeah, it's nice. Oh yeah. So I obviously have to adjust something, because when this fence was back, I did check it with a square and it was pretty bang on. But as I've moved it forward, it's out of square, and I noticed that when I move it forward past right there, it's still catching, and I think this goes back to when I mounted the fence earlier on in the video, and I said I tried to get the fence flush with the outfeed and the infeed table at the back, but I think it needs to come up a little bit maybe, because you can, it's obviously hitting right there, and I think that is then throwing it out a square a bit as it raises it to get over the edge. Although, to be honest, it's still pretty much square there, so. See, that's odd. See, a minute ago I had it square, and now it's definitely, it's way out now. And I'm backing it up against this end stop here, which is odd because it wasn't like that a minute ago. Let's tighten it up right there. Yeah, okay. So I still need to do some adjusting, obviously. Oh yeah, she's out. So I'm going to do that now. I'll adjust that and we'll check back. Okay, so I just adjusted the fence here. The fence stop. This is the fence stop. Loosen this nut right here, and a couple adjustments either way, and I think that I've got it certainly good enough for the woodworking that I do. It's pretty bang on. In fact, I'd say it is bang on. I can't move that, that's perfect. Yep. That is square. Alright. I mean, simple stuff. Simple stuff if you read the instructions. So, let's joint this board one more time. Get it nice and square, and I'll show you the result. See how this one worked out. Yeah. Hopefully you can see that. That is perfect. So there we go. One other thing that I did do, going back to what I was just saying a minute ago, is that I did adjust the two nuts on the back, and I raised up the entire fence assembly, just so that it no longer catches. So something to watch out for. There isn't like a positive stop. There are vertical slots for the fence assembly, so you may have to tweak that as well. But now that it's done, I think we're good. The only thing I can't do is check whether the tables are coplanar or if they're warped. I don't have a good enough straight edge at the moment, so the next tool I buy. I tried my Stabilo level, but I don't fully trust that because it's been used and abused. So anyway, I like it. It's really nice. It's fun to use, and I'm looking forward to milling some wood. So thanks for watching.